Scripture reading. There was a husband and a wife who had gone on a long trip, and they hadn't gotten too far. And they got into a little bit of a disagreement over something minor issue. Really wasn't that important, but it must have been to them. Because it got cold in that car all of a sudden. You know, that coldness that comes when two people are arguing and just sitting in silence. That tension you cut it so thick you cut it with a thing. Nobody wants to say anything because they're both mad and they're both right. Right? I can tell some of you have been there. But as they continued down the road in silence, they finally came across a pasture with two mules standing near the fence. And the husband looked over to the wife and said, "Is that some of your kinfolk?" And without missing a beat, the wife said, "Yes, yes it is. That's some of my in-laws." Family's fun, isn't it? We need family, don't we? Family's important, aren't they? They're important to us. Our husbands, our wives, our children, our aunts, our uncles. They're almost a support group, aren't they? A lot of times they carry us through times that we don't know we're going to get through. And we need them. We kind of need them. We need that family around us. It's good. I spent a week down in North Carolina this week with my daughter flew in, and I was down there with my sister and my mom, my nieces and nephews, and we spent time just hanging out, just being in each other's presence. Just seems to do something for you, kind of lifts your spirits, kind of gets you up a little bit, right? Makes you feel good, and that's what family's for. We're supposed to support each other. Y'all remember Andy Griffith show? Most of you've seen that? Yeah? Yeah, you remember the very first episode? How many of you are that old? Some of you are that old, you just didn't see the show. The very first show, it's when Andy is losing his housekeeper. Now, who can tell me her name? No, Aunt B is his Aunt B. And that's going to be a replacement for the housekeeper, but on the very first show, he loses his housekeeper who's been keeping Opie. Her name is Rose, for those of you who don't know. Now, you know something. If you don't learn nothing else in church today, and you say, when you go up to somebody and say, you know who Andy Griffith's housekeeper was? They'll say Aunt B. You say, no, it was Rose. Aunt B's Aunt B. But anyway, so he brings in Aunt B to help raise Opie, right? And Opie ain't having it. Ain't nobody going to replace Rose, because Rose is Rose. Rose was his housekeeper, and he loved Rose because she played ball with him and go fishing and catch frogs and all those fun things that boys like to do. Aunt B wasn't none of those things, was she? No. But Andy tries to teach her. He takes her out there and tries to teach her how to throw ball. And she ain't real good at that. He tries to take her fishing so she could go fishing with Opie. Yeah, ain't being much of a fisherman or catching frogs or anything. None of those things she could do. And so one morning you see Aunt B getting in the truck and her and Andy are having a conversation, and she's talking about, she needs to go. She's a failure at these things, and she's not going to be any good to Opie, and maybe she just needs to move along. Well, Opie hears her, and he comes running out and says, "You can't let her leave. You can't let her go. She can't play ball. She can't fish. She can't catch frogs. If she leaves, who's going to teach her those things? She needs me. She needs me to teach her those things. You can't let her go." Sometimes we think we teach young people stuff, and sometimes young people teach us stuff, don't they? Sometimes they remind us of things, don't they? They remind us of things we forgot, things that we should know, what we should believe, what we should do. Sometimes we teach them. They're always looking up to us and looking to see how they should be what? Christian. If I wanted to know how to be a Christian and I followed Jimmy around all day, what would I write down? I just picked Jimmy. I wasn't picking on Jimmy. It could be any of your names. But what would I write down? And that's what happens in a family. Families need to be families of faith. And we're starting our series today on heroes of the Bible, or people of faith, and you're going to see a lot of different types of people. And the first one we're going to talk about is Abraham. We just heard about him in Genesis. We were just reading. And where we're catching Abraham, he's about 100 years old. God first appeared to Abram when he's about 75. And that's when he had told him to move, to pack up all your stuff, take all your family, I'm going to make a nation out of you, but I need you to move. I need you to go to a land. I'm going to show you where it's at. Now, how many of you on those instructions are going to pack up, Billy, you're going to pack up your shop, and you're going to tell Dottie, pack up all the stuff, get all the kinfolk, we move, where we're going to. You'll know when we get there. God's going to let us know when we get there. You ready?
Well, I've been trying to talk to him.
I've been telling her God's been talking to me for a long time. We need to move. She won't listen. But how many of us, some of you are around that age, some of you are around 75 years old, just to turn your whole life upside down and move away, does that make a lot of sense to you? How many of you would be comfortable doing that? So that takes some faith to do that, doesn't it? It takes some faith just to pack up everything, change who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and we're just going to move. We're going to move away from the people we know, the things we know. We're going to go to a strange land. I don't know where it's at, but God's going to show me. Well, that takes some faith, don't it? Maybe that's why people say Abraham's what? He's known for his great faith. Of course he is. But you know, Abraham wasn't always Abraham, was he? When we first meet Abraham, what's his name? Abram, that's right. Abraham means father of nations, or of many. So it's a name that God gives him. But when we first meet him, he's not ready for that name yet, is he? He's what? A work in progress. How many of you here are works in progress? Yeah? Any finished products? I just want to see what one looks like. I just want to see what that perfection looks like. We're all works in progress, right? We all have our shortcomings and our failures. You know, we fall down. And it's not a matter of whether or not you're going to fall down or not, because you are. It's a matter of what you're going to do with it when you fall down. We all make mistakes, and you know, Abraham made his mistakes. You know, if you read on through Genesis and you start encountering some stuff he did, you know, when he went to Egypt, he was scared of the rulers there that they might kill him because his wife was beautiful, and so he said, don't tell them you're my wife. You're my sister. Tell them you're my sister. Say, I want them to kill me so they can get to you. And that ended up being a mess, didn't it? If you read that, if you haven't read that, go back and read it. It's a mess. That's what happens when we try to, when we lie and try to deceive, try to make our own plans instead of consulting God for plans. We make a mess of things, don't we? Yeah, we do. We do. Well, he got impatient after a while, you know, and he said, well, you know, I'm not going to have any children with Sarah, so he had a child with his maidservant, right? Again, trying to make his own plan instead of following God's plan. And that was a mess. You know, every time we try to make our own way instead of trying to go down God's way, God's path, we end up making a mess of things. Then we got to pick up the phone, dial 911. You know, God, it's me. Yeah, I messed up again. And, you know, I want God to come in and fix it. But God's got a plan for us. You know, Pam talked about that in children. God's got a plan for each and every one of us. And he had a plan for Abraham. And Abraham had enough faith to get up and move, but he didn't have enough faith to trust God with all the aspects of his life, did he? At least not originally. We find out later he has even greater faith, right? Later on in the story. But originally he did. You know, it's a kind of sort of almost, I want to be faithful, but I'm not quite sure faith. You know people like that? You ever been like that? Say, I know, God, I know you can handle so many things, but this little piece right here I got to hold on to because, you know, it's mine. I own it. I'm fond of it. We know each other on a first name basis. I can't just let you have that. You know, a lot of us are like that. That's kind of what Abraham had been through. But now God's coming back to him. And I wonder if he's been testing this whole time. I wonder if he's been waiting for that faith to mature. I don't know. The Bible doesn't tell us. You know, but I know a lot of people with that kind of sort of almost faith that needs to be perfected. that needs to be worked on. You know, we all say, it's one thing to say, I believe. Because if I ask you all, how many of you believe? I think most of you raise your hands, right? You have a faith. I believe. To what degree do you believe? That's a whole different question. That's a, explanation. That's a whole different question. You know, it's like that story of Ken Davis, a preacher, comedian preacher, was talking about. He had was recounting class he had taken, and they had to give a presentation, and they were being graded on their presentation. And he decided that he was going to give a presentation on the law of the pendulum. And you know, a pendulum, and he got there and he attached a string to the top of the chalkboard and tied a children's top to it at the bottom. And he raised it up and he marked it with a piece of chalk on the chalkboard where he was dropping it from. And the law of the pendulum says that it will swing to the other side to an equal distance and come back, but it will never exceed its original drop point. That's the law of the pendulum. And he showed it. He marked it, dropped it, sure enough it came, and it will slowly but surely come to rest in the middle, right? You're familiar with that law? And he asked him, he said, after showing him, said, how many of you believe? The whole class did. The teacher said. The teacher thought the class, he was through the presentation, so he starts to walk up to the front of the class. He said, I'm glad you're here. He said, come join me. He said, he took a chair and he put it on a desk. He said, I'd like you to sit right here. So the teacher sat right there. And he went to the middle of the room. And he picked up a 250-pound, had some people help him pick up his 250-pound weight and attach it to a cable that he had attached to the ceiling. And he pulled the cable, the weight, all the way back to where it sat right in front of the teacher's nose, like this. And he asked the teacher again, he said, do you believe in the law of the pendulum? And the teacher said, yeah. And he let it go. The weight swung across the room, all the way up. And as it came back, he said he had never seen anybody move that fast. He said the teacher dove off the chair. He said he believed. He said he had faith, but when the rubber hit the road, did he believe? No, he didn't. No, of course he didn't. And that's how sometimes we are with our faith. We say we believe, we say that we trust God, but when it really comes time to trust God, do we trust God? Really good question, man. Do we trust Him with all aspects of our life, or just the things we want to give Him control of? Well, when He comes back today, when He came back in today's story to see Abraham, and He tells him that he's going to, by this time next year, you're going to have a child. Sarah's going to have a son. Because I promise you, I'm going to make him the father of all nations. Now, he's 100 years old. Now, I don't know how Abraham kept from laughing. But Sarah, she couldn't control herself. She had to let out a little snicker and, yeah. A little bit of disbelief, right? I mean, that's a, sometimes God tells us His plans, and we think they are so fun. You ever been there where God asks you to do something, you're like, whatever. No, that's not me. You got the wrong guy. You might want to check your directory. You got the wrong Ken. I'm just telling you. I've been there where I thought some of the things He's asked me to do, like, really? Really? For some reason, I think that my plan is better than His plan. It never works out that way. It's never good. No, it always comes around, I'm going to do what God has for me to do anyway. So I might as well take it. Because, as much as sometimes I want to giggle at what God asks me to do, when God sees my plan, I'm pretty sure He's laughing. I'm pretty sure He's saying, whatever. That's nice try, kid. But that's not the way it's going to work out. So we can save a whole lot of time by just being in prayer, being tuned in to what God had. But that's hard, isn't it? I mean, keeping it real here, being honest, it's hard sometimes to follow what God has for us to do. They were old. I don't mean that as in a bad way. There's certain things that you, at 100 years old, don't usually do. Children is one of them. Children is one of them. I can tell you, we were talking, somehow the discussion came up around the table today about, this week with my family said, can you imagine me having a child at 57? I was like, that's a young man's game and I ain't in it. I said, my days have come and gone. I don't have what it takes to run around after little children. There's a reason God gives you little children when you're young enough to still bend, and chase and follow and say, no, stop. There's a reason for that, right? So can you imagine at 100? I'm just 57. Can you imagine at 100 how they must have felt? But there's something to having an heir, isn't there? It's probably a man thing, but there's something to having somebody to carry on that family name, too, in a sense of pride. My dad always taught me. You can carry on the family name. You can have some boys to carry on that hall name. Name's the only thing that the world can't take from you. They take everything from you, but they can't take your name, your good name. I'm glad my brother took care of this. I just had two pretty girls. But name's important. And having somebody to pass, heirs to pass things down to, traditions, beliefs, are important. Do you pass that stuff down to your children? Are you passing your beliefs down to your children? That's a big question. You say, well, I'm old, my children are grown. It's not too late. Please don't use that excuse. If anything you should learn from today's story is that you are never too old for God to do something miraculous through you. I'm in my 70s. He was 100. 100 and had a child. Don't give me 70s. Don't give me 80s, 90s. When you get to 100, come talk to me. Then we'll see if we can get you a little excuse from class that day. But God can do miraculous things through people of any age. You see, because God has a different set of goggles on. He has glasses on. He doesn't see things like me and you see things. We look at a 100-year-old and say, no way, no way, that's not happening. But God says, yeah, I'm going to do that. Watch. You see, God doesn't judge people by their gender or their education or their looks or their hair quantity or any of that stuff. He doesn't. He doesn't judge you by your age, how young, or how old you are. He doesn't care. Because if you allow Him to, God can do miraculous things through you. Each and every one of you. I'm 60-some years old. I can't do that. I'm past my prime. You don't know what your prime is. God knows what He can do. You might not be able to do it, but God can do it through you. Through you. God can take in your broken down body and He can do miraculous things. He can bless other people through you. Through your words. Maybe you sing. Maybe you play the piano. Maybe you build cabinets or play the auto harp. Whatever it is you do. God's able to use you. I thought I was too old to go back to school. I'm 36. I ain't going back to those kids. They're 18 years old. I ain't going back in there. That's intimidating. They're going to laugh at me. So what you do, flunk out? But God had a plan. And God said go back to school, so I went back to school. God doesn't care how old you are. He gave you today, that's one more day. If you're lucky, He's going to give you tomorrow. If you're really, really lucky, the day after that, He might give it to you. But the question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to live it in fear? Are you going to live it in your excuses? I'm too old. I can't do it. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not tall enough. It doesn't matter where you stand, what you look like, how old you are. God can use those people who make themselves available. Abraham made himself available. And as we go through the series on heroes of the Bible, you're going to see overriding things that the people who make themselves available to God are able to be used by God to accomplish extraordinary things. And though they may not wear capes or masks or shoot spider webs out of their wrists or any of those fancy things, they do superhero type stuff. They do amazing things. Because I'm going to tell you what, it's probably a lot harder to pick up everything you own and move away than to shoot a spider web out of your wrist. It's a lot harder to be an all-in Christian than to lead building a single battle. You see, it's hard to be a person who is all in their faith. But that's what God is asking us to do. Now, don't feel bad if you're not there. Because after all, we're all a work in progress, aren't we? We are. We're all a work in progress. But be available so God can work through you. So when that pendulum comes, because it will come back, when that weight swings back, that you'll have the confidence in God. When that storm comes at you, that you'll have that faith in God to stay in that seat. To know that you're on the right path. To know that God is with you. To know that God loves you. To know that God doesn't desert you. And that He will be with you even to the end of your days. Because He's promised never to leave you nor desert you. Have that kind of faith. That kind of faith that tells us that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Not that you can do them, but through Christ who strengthens you. Have that kind of faith. Be that kind of Christian. Set that kind of example for all those who will see. And all God's people said, Amen. Our hymn number